Greetings, I'm Charles, I'm 55 years old, I'm 6'1" when I'm fully assembled, weigh about 230 pounds. Today I'm going to talk about washing my wheelchair gloves. Now in real life these are not expensive wheelchair gloves. What they are gloves that I've gotten at the sporting section of a generally, department store, Walmart or Target or whatever, one of those kind of places, and I usually able to pick these things up for about 10 or 12 bucks for a pair, and they will last me probably about a year, and then they start getting tore up and they just don't want to work anymore. But in that time period, they do get kind of cruddy and nasty. Of course, there's going to be a lot of sweat coming from the inside of the hands, and then of course all the grunge that are on the outside that get on the wheelchair push rims and the wheels and stuff, all the things that we handle. So at some point I'll want to wash these. Now if I had expensive gloves, I would use some other things, conditioners, all kinds of things like that, because they would deserve that. But like I said, since I'm just spending 10 or 12 bucks a year on these things, I figured this is a good, easy way to take care of my gloves. Alright, so what I do is, this is the way I wash them. Just a simple thing. I just pretend like they are my hands. I want to put them in the water, put some decent hand soap on there, and I just treat them just like they are my hands. Now I want to get them soaked all the way through, and it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take so long that we're going to pause this video and start it up here in a second again. Alrighty, so I'm back. What I did was I just washed my hands real good. I kept washing them until I could actually feel the soap on the inside of the gloves as they penetrated the gloves. I rinsed my hands off real good. It took a couple of minutes, definitely longer than it normally takes to wash your hands. And we're going to squeeze as much of the water out as we can. One of the things that we do not want to do is, once we take the gloves off, we do not want to wring the gloves. That is not a good thing. So I'm going to do that, and then the way we're going to dry these, just a thing that I do all the time when I'm taking off these gloves, I discovered it was just a heck of a lot easier if I ran my finger up the middle from the palm and pushed these things up, that they came off pretty easy. Especially when they're wet, they can be a real pain in the neck to take off. So, take those guys off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set them over where they're going to be out of the way on a paper towel or a towel or something of that nature, and let them air dry. It'll probably take all day. Probably about this time tomorrow I'll be ready to wear these again. Now I definitely do not want to have them in a heat source. I don't want to have them under a lamp or anything like that, because it could cause these gloves to dry and shrink and crack, and I do not want that to happen. Now they are very likely to shrink a little bit, so they'll feel a little bit better and be kind of tight. Just like, more or less like when they were brand new, and I like that part of it. So that is what I do to take care of my inexpensive wheelchair gloves, so they'll be nice and clean on a regular basis.